How you doing, Shaun? Hodrobino, Devil's Digest. I know that you said after the game that you thought quarterback Emory Jones did play well in that game against Stanford. After reviewing the game film, what are your thoughts right now on the quarterback situation going into the Colorado road game?
There's some good things that he did. There's some decision making that was questionable, I thought. There was some inconsistency, I thought, in the second half a little bit. Overall, I thought he did okay. Going forward, and you'll see it out there too, it's an open competition, a true open competition for both of those guys. And again, I'm still, will say this, is I'm going to pick the best guy that will get us that win. Do I think we should have won that game? Absolutely. I absolutely think and kind of still in the jar about it, but I got to get over it and move forward. And the kids, the good thing about it is I know that the kids care because it was tough for them after the game, and it was tough for them yesterday. But we're going to move on, and I'm going to move on. But going back to the quarterback, it is a true competition this next 3 days, and we'll see how that plays. There is no true starter right now.
Yeah, Shaun, just maybe building off that a little bit. Were there things that Stanford made adjustments on in terms of how they were defending some of your actions, or the way they were defending Elijah Badger, or anything else that you thought you guys didn't respond to as well as you would have liked?
I just thought from a decision-making standpoint, there's things open that we didn't get to. They did try to tighten up a little bit on Elijah. They brought a little bit more pressure just with their interior guys a little bit. But overall, they didn't change schematically. And so we should have been able to take advantage of that, and not scoring in the second half is absolutely unacceptable. So.
And would you mind sharing any sort of your perspective that you had in your conversations with Glenn after that game about kind of your thoughts about the offensive performance?
Yeah, I always sit down with the coordinators, get their thoughts. Wanted to kind of go series by series what they were looking at and how they would go and attack it. And this is probably going to be a question that is brought up. I will definitely be very, very, very involved with the offense going forward in regards to play calling and everything else.
When it comes to the open quarterback, Luke Lynn with Trouble Sports, by the way. When it comes to the open quarterback position competition, what exactly will you be looking for these next few days to hopefully make that decision?
A few things. Number one, the execution part of it, the confidence part of it. I want to see how the team reacts to it. How do we go about from a series on converting on our situational practices, but just the overall moxie of the quarterback in the field. The good thing about it is the kids trust both of them. Now, who's going to be confident to win the job? I mean, so we're going to go about this Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday. I might not name a starter until I figure it out Friday who's the guy that I'm comfortable with going. But with that choice being made, that person, I'm going to have full confidence that they're going to win the football game. And that's exactly what I'm asking the kids. We're going to move forward and win the football game.
Have you noticed maybe a lack of confidence in Emory in the last few games?
I haven't noticed a lack of confidence. He came off that concussion, but that first half I thought he did really really well. But going back, there's always that Monday armchair quarterback, and I'm one too. And I look back at film and what could have been, but I'm confident that going forward that I'll put the right guy in place, and that might be Emory, that might be Trent.
Shaun, you have the stacking days mantra, and you had momentum, right? Things were kind of building, progressing. So what's the emotional sort of state of play right now for the team, and what do you kind of have to do to make sure that you're staying on the right course?
Yeah, and so this 4 weeks, and I put it up every Sunday. So last week was stacking days. We got 18% better. This week, if we go 4 practices, we get 22% better. Last week was to dominate the game. That was one of our stacking themes when it came to games. I changed that in regards to us still trying to get it together. This one, it is win by all costs. And so when we talk about stacking those days, we still go about that mantra. When I speak with the team, and they understand it, so they understand that come tomorrow we're going to go back at it and flush everything else away.
So, Shaun, as much as we're talking about the passing game, I thought that that game last week against Stanford was an excellent opportunity to really get a lot of yards on the ground. I mean, Stanford was, I think, averaging 197 yards yielded. What do you think went wrong just in that specific aspect? And now going into the Colorado game, you're facing a run defense that's probably worse than what you saw against Stanford.
Yeah, I thought Stanford's front line did a pretty good job, because a couple of times, there's tackle for losses that probably more tackle for losses in that game than we had in the whole season. And so I wasn't really happy about that. I thought our receivers did a good job getting open downfield. And we delivered on that. We had 9 explosives. And so that's usually, if you get 9 explosives, that's usually a good sign of you being ahead on the scoreboard. But we're going to have to go back and revamp a little bit on the run game. Again, I'm in those meetings, and I have a very big influence on what's going forward from now on that offense.
Shaun, you had your defensive backs got their hands on a lot of balls in that game, and Donnie got more aggressive kind of as the game unfolded. So does that give you confidence in that sort of strategy, especially when Stanford really didn't move the ball successfully in plus territory?
Absolutely. And we were playing against bigger physical receivers, and so I challenged those D-backs to make sure that they get in their face and challenge them. And sometimes it's tough because they can just body you up, but they played aggressive. I thought Coach Henderson did a good job bringing pressure at times. And I want to play that way, and it has to match up on the offense too. Like we talked about, in all facets, we want to be aggressive. So I will keep convincing Coach Henderson to keep bringing that pressure, and then we'll try to match it on the offensive side.
Hey, Coach Shaun Aguano. Hey, Coach Jonah Carell, WCSN. Elijah Badger, his first 2 years didn't see a lot of minutes, a lot of playing time, and then this season, just how have you seen him grown, as a person and as a player into this number 1 role?
I think he's done a great job. Can he get better? Yes. And when the ball's not coming to you, understanding conceptually that you have to stretch the field and do those things, especially when you're being keyed upon. And so, everybody needs to get better, but he has tremendously improved. We knew what we were going to get with him from an athletic standpoint. Now it becomes the maturity and mental and making sure you can do it every play, and he's getting better and better. As you see, he's making huge plays. I thought he's one of the better players on the field in that game. We talk about football is a game of inches. It was truly a game of inches with especially that catch he made. But we look at him going forward as being one of the guys that we need to get the ball to. And especially when I talk with the offense, we need to get our playmakers the football. That's any smart offensive mind, make sure that we get those guys the football, and then we'll plug in the rest. But he's one of our playmakers.
Did you see what his mindset was after that play, or just the offense as a whole after coming so close right there?
It was heartbreaking because it's such a big play, and if you look at the film, you see the defensive guys all the way down there cheering him on. But his mindset is we need to get better as a team. I've talked to the leadership group, and they're disappointed, and it's good to be disappointed. That means they care, and so they also need to make sure that we get up and going tomorrow. So we'll have a spirited practice, and we'll get going.
Shaun, how did you come out of that game health-wise, and is there a chance for Ladarius to come back, or is he done? Or
Ladarius will probably take 1 or 2 more weeks. He's not going to be back. Surprisingly, we came out of it very healthy, and so besides Ladarius, everybody else was pretty healthy. When I talk pretty healthy, there's those bumps and bruises that probably take a day or so, but everybody else is ready to go.
Shaun, in
Interim.
addition to Elijah Badger, Brian Thompson has really emerged as a big play threat the last 3 games. Can you talk about Brian's emergence and what have been the keys? It was a slow year for him last year, but boy, the last couple of weeks he's really come on for you.
You know, I think it deals with his confidence. You know, he wants the ball now. You know, there's receivers that play and run the routes, and if I get the ball, that's okay. Now you having guys on that side wanting the football, and that makes a difference. And so, you know, from a confidence level, they're peaking. And so, Elijah Badger, BT, even Gio Sanders, now they want the football. You know, again, we only got one football, but you like to see that. And so from a confidence level, they're going to go and make plays. I thought the receiving group did a great job making contested plays with people in their face, and that was something that we knew from Stanford's going to be playing a man-to-man, and we needed to make those contested plays or separate one of the two, and I thought they did great in those contested plays.
Yeah, Coach. Just the ability to finish games. You know, you were ahead for a majority of that game. What goes into just finishing those plays, finishing just the game as a whole?
Yeah, you know, it's the focus and want to. I mean, that's the big part. You know, we talked about our kids making sure that they play to the last whistle, and they did play to the last whistle because it was truly to the last whistle. But we need to make sure that we focus and make those plays when they need to. And from a coaching staff, make the right calls when we need to too. I mean, it's a whole gamut of things. But to finish, you need to make sure you focus throughout those 4 quarters and give as much effort as you can to finish those games. And that has been one of the themes that we talked about in finishing drills, finishing practices, finishing catches, doing all of those things. But to me, it's a mindset more than anything. Adrian. You know, from a defense standpoint, I think they're bringing a little bit more pressure than they have prior. I've known Coach Sanford as well back in the days, so I just think that they're trying to get it together too, and keeping those kids together. You know, they had a tough one against Oregon State last week, but I think they're just bringing a little bit more pressure. So conceptually, there's a little change, but again, they're trying to get their kids to play.
I forgot to ask you this after the game, but were you going to go on the 4th and 11 before the delay, and was there any possibility of using one of the timeouts in that situation had you wanted to do that?
You know, the 4th and 11, we were going to go for it. You know, when we had that delay, then I had to put the earnest on the defense. 16 is just too much. 11, you know, when we call plays, you can probably get a catch or something for 8 and 9 and fall for 2. 16, it's really tough, especially when those guys are coming at you and you're asking a lot from those linemen. So I don't question that not using the timeout, but I think that that was just too much from a 4th and 16 standpoint. But 4th and 11, I was going to go for it. Yes.
Hey, Donnie, how are you?
I'm great, Chris.
Yeah. So your defensive backs got their hands on a lot of balls in that game. Obviously, Stanford's got the bigger receiving options. What did you think about kind of how that group played, and especially sort of as a product of the strategy that you had in the game?
Well, I think it goes back to Coach Fletcher, the DB coach, all week talked to the DBs about how physical they was going to have to be. And they're going to have to be, you know, body on body and contest every throw down the field. And he talked about how physical it was going to be because the receivers are pretty big guys and they're physical. And I think as a group, they went out and performed well.
And what about just how you handled Stanford when they were in plus territory? They didn't have any touchdowns and, you know, didn't even get to the red zone, but maybe 3 times.
Yeah, you know, unfortunate for them, they didn't get in the red zone, but maybe a couple of times. If that was the case, I can't even remember. But we just called our regular calls. That's all we did. We just played base defense, and and got after them just a little bit and with a little bit of pressure. But other than that, we didn't change our mindset of how we was going to play the receivers or the running game. We stuck to the game plan, and I think that's what I know that's what we did. So we just stuck to the game plan.
Coach, going back here,
Okay.
going back to the defensive backs, I mean, for injury or whatever reason, there's been a lot of rotation at cornerback. How do you feel just throughout the whole season that the room is held up on the field and outside of the field with those rotations?
Well, when people go down, you got to get somebody else to step up. The old cliche about the next man up. So, obviously, this is probably one of the better games they've played performance-wise. I was thrilled to see how they played as a group. Really, when it came down to playing those bigger receivers and how physical the game was. If you looked at that game, there was a lot of tugging and pushing off going down them sidelines with the receivers. So, this group that started this week. They went out and performed, so I was really happy.
And Coach, I mean, to kind of piggyback off that, obviously, as a defensive coordinator in defense, you want to keep teams out of the end zone, but where can the defense in general build and go from a performance like that against Stanford?
Well, I hope we understand that we can play pretty good defense as a unit. I know some guys in here don't think we played any at all, but you're not talking about Chris, are you? No. Anyway, so no, no. I really hope that going forward, this catapults us into really understand that we can be a pretty good defense if we do everything the right way and everybody plays and do their job and have faith and have confidence and those things that showed up against Stanford. Really, those were the things that showed up.
Donnie,
Hey, Chris.
yeah. So your Merlin and Kyle had like 25 tackles, and
Yeah.
Stanford had no explosives on the ground really in the game, maybe one, but
Yeah, that one series coming out
yeah. Right.
when they was backed up, I don't know how. I know it was more than 10 to 12 yards. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you make about just the way that you guys fitted the run and did
Well,
all that?
Honestly, it started last week, Tuesday. And we talked about how we had to practice and stacking practices and getting better and understanding and communicating. And then it went Wednesday. We were pretty good. We didn't have too many explosive plays on Wednesday. And then Thursday, which was a short but faster practice, it's like that interception you seen Jordan get. He was calling that route out all week. And then they changed on him, really, the first time they ran it. No, I shouldn't say they changed. They ran it either he shook and went inside or he shook and went outside. And they ran that all week, and we practiced it all week long. And he was on every last one of them all week when they shook and went inside. And then in the game, they shook and went outside. I said to myself, okay, that's one for them. But then the next time when they shook and went outside, he jumped the route. So I'm going back to how we practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week. And Friday was a sharp practice too. We normally get 18 plays or something like that on Friday within 18, 20 minutes. But we zipped right through that thing. We were done in about 10 minutes, and I was surprised how fast we went all week. So it started last week, Chris.
Coach, B.J. Green comes in the second half. He gets a sack of his own, opens up a couple opportunities for some other people to get sacks. What kind of attention does he demand, and what kind of opportunities does that open up for other players?
So what are you trying to tell me? He's the sack master now or something?
No,
They better figure out who he is. No, I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case. They're trying to figure out who he is. No, it was good to see him come back and play in the second half because he was suspended in the first half. One thing about him, he brings a lot of energy all the time. He does have a motor, no doubt. You can move him inside and outside, so he might be the sack master.
Donnie, you're getting healthier up front. Omar, Coop, kind of back. Did you feel at all like you weren't able to do maybe some of the things that you had wanted to when those guys weren't available? And what does having them back and being healthier kind of allow?
I won't look back and see, going backwards. It does me no good to do that. But going forward, it does make me feel a lot better about, the rotation. You got guys that's 6, 7, 8 guys in there that you feel good about that are healthy enough to play. So if we can continue that and keep our health, I think we'll be. I know one thing: we'll be stronger up front. We don't have to worry about, the rotation. Say as much guys getting tired. We have 8 to 9 guys and that can get out there if they stay healthy. That definitely gives us an advantage. Good. Good. All right, Chris.
Thanks,
What Chris
Donnie.
said.
You got all kind of praise this week.
Stop, Chris. Don't do that, please. You made me start thinking we're playing defense. Don't do that, Chris. Leave us alone.